Morning and thanks for joining us. We start with breaking news in the Middle East. I'm Ticia Muzinga.
And I'm Brandon Todd. We're here to bring you special coverage of the situation as it develops there.
Yeah, President Donald Trump says the U.S. is now involved in military operations in Iran after Israel launched airstrikes early this morning.
Iranian media reported that the strikes were nationwide with smoke rising from the capital in Tehran. Israeli forces say they launched the preemptive strikes near the offices of Iran's supreme leader. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the attacks to remove the existential threat posed by Iran. That was the goal of this mission.
Yeah, so the U.S. joined the fight by launching Tomahawk missiles from Navy vessels in the air. Now, the joint attack has now been dubbed Operation Epic Fury by the Pentagon. It comes as peace negotiations on Iran's nuclear program have failed. President Trump said on social media that it's time to take out the current Iranian regime. He also called on the people of Iran to take their country back. He urged Iranian forces to lay down their weapons or be destroyed. The president posted a video statement earlier this morning from his Florida home at Mar-a-Lago.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all.
The president went on to say that American troops may lose their lives during this operation. As of now, it's unclear if there were any casualties as this news develops. I know that there are some air bases within the Middle East that are being attacked by other neighboring, or by Iran, actually, and also other countries around Iran who are friendly to the United States are also saying that they have sustained some attacks as well from Iran. And I know that Trey Yingst on Fox News this morning was saying that C-17 aircraft have been bringing in weapons to Israel over the last several days. So this is something that kind of forecasts not an attack that would last hours, but rather days.
Yeah. And one thing, he mentioned in his speech was saying that, they're doing this now. They're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it's a noble mission. So that's how he kind of closed things out. And as you can imagine, there are reactions that's just pouring in, especially from U.S. officials. So Republican Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina posted to X this morning. He says, quote, "The end of the largest state sponsor of terrorism is upon us. God bless President Trump, our military, and our allies in Israel. Freedom for the long-suffering Iranian people. This operation is necessary and long justified," end quote.
Now, the first apparent strike of this operation targeted the offices of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Yeah, and his status and whereabouts still not clear at this hour. Fox News correspondent Catherine Griffin broke down the initial stages of the attack a short time ago on Fox News Channel.
This is a rare joint U.S.-Israeli operation synchronized and planned over a matter of months. A senior U.S. military official tells me this operation will last not hours, but days. Among the initial targets, the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's compound, which can be seen in satellite photos as mere rubble at this point. It's not clear whether the Ayatollah was there. Other targets in the initial wave, the Defense Ministry, the Parliament, the National Supreme Council, the Ministry of Intelligence, Iran's Atomic Energy Agency, as well as naval bases down near Bandar Abbas and Kark Island, along with targets in Bushehr, likely to include the nuclear reactor there. In the east, U.S. missiles and the Israeli Air Force struck the IRGC aerospace forces in Tabriz and Kermanshah, part of Iran's ballistic missile and satellite program. Among the top Iranian leaders targeted, Iran's president, the defense minister, and the head of the judiciary, who has issued death sentences to thousands of Iranian protesters, and former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who once famously vowed to wipe Israel from the map. His home was struck, no word yet on casualties. Already, the Iranian response has targeted all U.S. bases in the Gulf, except U.S. bases in Oman, since the Omani foreign minister had tried to mediate the nuclear talks in Geneva, even flying to Washington, D.C. to meet Vice President J.D. Vance at the White House yesterday to try to avert what is quickly turning into a regional war. A missile landed near the U.S. Navy Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, but I'm told there were no casualties, and Qatar intercepted at least one incoming missile targeting Al Udeid Air Base. Hundreds of military targets have been struck by the U.S. military and the Israeli Air Force. Iran state television has been knocked off the air as well.
At the skyline of Tel Aviv, there in Israel, both U.S. and Israeli defense forces across the Middle East are on alert for more retaliatory strikes by Iran. U.S. embassies and consulates across the Middle East and Israel are under shelter in that area, and they've issued a shelter-in-place order for all of the residents there. Again, this joint operation was planned for months, according to the Israeli government. And I mentioned before, Trey Yingst was saying C-17 aircraft have been coming in and out of Israel, bringing more weapons. This will take some time to assess the damage in Iran from the initial wave of airstrikes, but so far there are just scattered reports of casualties from the retaliation strikes. State TV in Syria is reporting this morning that 4 people were killed by Iranian missile strikes in the southern part of the country. And of course, we're monitoring all of these developments. CNN is saying that Marco Rubio did in fact notify at least some of the Gang of 8 about the attack. The Gang of 8 being the 8 members of Congress from both parties that by law are briefed on classified information by the executive branch. So.
Yeah, all this unfolding. So